after Trotro pass by, already packed to the brim. This isn't just about transportation. It's about our lives, it's about productivity, and it's about livelihoods. Soon I will open up the phone line so you can share your experiences while we in the studio explore potential solutions. I'm sure there's a lot of them, hopefully. Coming up around the 15-minute mark, we'll be shifting gears slightly to tackle a question many car buyers think to themselves secretly. Does a good price always mean a good purchase? I know you've been thinking about that too. Right after you made that huge purchase, you're like, did I make a good choice? Women, I know you're on this table. I'll be breaking down some key indicators that will surely help you beat down that price. In one of the episodes, I remember we mentioned briefly what the instrument cluster is, but there seems to be some need for us to clarify. So yes, I'll be talking more about the difference between instrument cluster, the dashboard, and there's a new one. I'll mention it later. So buckle up, Ghana, because we've got a packed hour of insightful discussion coming your way. This is Vroom with your host, Shecanic. Alrighty, so if you've seen the poster, we are talking about the chaotic nature of having to get home on the daily. And tonight, we have real commuters. We're not faking it. We have people who have real experiences. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this started. So I chanced on the video. Diana put up a beautiful, beautiful reportage about her struggles at night. And I felt, this is something that we should make it a national concern. So I reached out to Diana and she was very gracious. She said, why not? Let's do this. Fast forward a couple of weeks, or was it days or weeks? Days. Fast forward, here we are. Thank you so much, Diana, for what you did. If nobody has told you, this is me giving you your flowers. Thank you for doing what you did. So we have Diana, and then we also have Augustine, but I'll leave them to introduce themselves. We'll start with Augustine.
I'm Augustine. I'm an auto enthusiast, and I commute on Trotro daily. I do run a lot of errands, so Trotro is my thing.
Right, as it was for all of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and then who do we have?
So my name is Diana. As she rightly said, I am a PR person. I am a content creator. I'm a TV host. I'm a producer. So yeah, I wear a number of hats. And yes, for everything I do, Trotro is king.
Wow. So then when we were putting this together, were you doing it because you're just a content creator, or you were doing it because you felt the need, you felt there was a calling?
So to be honest, every day I encounter something wrong with a Trotro, I post it on my Instagram story. And I don't know, one day I was in a queue, I think at 37, and I said, you know what, I have to put this actually out there, because it's not just, and I know that it's not just me, because obviously I'm in a queue with a number of people, so they're going through the same thing that I am going through. And I decided the best way I know how to is to create content with what I have. I regularly create content, and when I'm doing it, I show that I'm in Trotro, or I'm in a ride-hailing app or something. I always show the process, but this time I wanted to highlight what was wrong, because there are a number of things wrong, and I have experienced it. I mean, growing up, that's what I pick. So I mean, I've experienced it, and it's just sad that I've reached this point in my life, and it feels like we are still at the same point. I used to stand at junctions, my house where I live, the junction there, with my little sister when I was in primary, when I was in JHS, fighting for car. And this is me who is working, and I'm still fighting for car. So I don't understand it. It feels like we're not progressing. It feels like we're stagnant, and there's nothing being done. It feels like, okay, if you are bothered by car,
That is true.
That is very true.
Yeah. Augustine, what do you have to say to this?
Yeah, so my church experience really got more when I was in uni. I was at Legon, so back then I was doing some
Yeah.
the hustles, yeah. So I do pick church a lot, and sometimes you have to meet time, but even when you're an hour ahead of time, you're still going to get late because you get to the bus stops and the Trotro drivers are flexing you. During my NSS days, you see Trotro drivers coming and it's like that's their cocaine period. Like they don't mind you. You're even trying to ask them where are you heading towards, and nobody's minding you. They just go mute and you have to struggle, get into the vehicle, and then they're like, okay, we're not heading your direction.
Wow.
So you have to drop down.
Well, do you think that they don't tell you where they're going because they feel you might spoil their cars? Because there seems to be a rush.
Okay, so some of them, what I observed was it's based on demand.
Right.
So at the early hours, they come to the roadside. Based on the chunk of people there, they decide to, okay, so I think majority are going to, let's say, 37. Majority are going to Accra Central. Then they decide to go there. But as they are coming, they don't say a word.
Right.
They don't say anything. So they just get there. You have to sometimes if you're familiar with the drivers, you can tell that, oh, this one is definitely going my way, so let me rush in. But majority will come, they won't say a word, and they flex you so much. They flex you and makes you. There are times I stand by the roadside, I'm like, God, I think I need to get myself a car.
Yeah.
Like they flex you so much.
Oh,
It's terrible. And
I'm sure you speak for many.
yeah.
Yeah. I really don't know if you've been to Seco. Have you been off?
have.
Have you been to Seco at this time of the night? If anybody's standing at Seco right now, they can call you and tell you, because what he's saying right now, that's what happens at Seco. So in the evening around 5 to 7, they know that that's the time that workers have closed.
Right.
And so that's they are all there. And so they come, they've closed their cars, they are doing like they are not going, and then they park, and then when they open it, before they will now see La Paz streets or Dummy streets. It means that wherever you are getting down, if it's before the La Paz or if it's before the Dummy, the amount you are paying is the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's supposed to be 4 CDs or 5 CDs. It is going to be the same.
Trotros in the stations.
No. These are there's not the station ones. Those are the guys going the to and fro people.
Yeah.
What they call the floating.
Yeah, the floating Trotros.
Yeah.
So why don't you rather go to the stations? To get
The stations,
Trotro?
you see long queues, and the Trotro drivers don't like going to the stations because of the tickets they pay.
Plus, it's not everywhere that you get a station.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Okay, so you mentioned, let's go back to when you were in GSS.
Yeah.
I want to know the history of this, how this whole thing started. Now, share your experience back then. What was the real experience? Aside waiting long queues, what were the real experiences?
So, I think, one vivid one that comes to mind is it had rained. So, say the rains that fell last night, and I was standing at the bus stop with my sister, and we had been standing there for a while. At the time, I used to go to school somewhere in Hacho there, so I'm waiting for a Medina car. Okay. And at the time, for some reason, Medina cars were scarce. They were very scarce, and so you will stand there for a while, and if you don't fight, as a small girl that I am with my little sister, I can't really fight the grown-ups who are also struggling to go to work. So I'll stand there for a while. I stood there for a while that day, and a car just splashed water on me and my uniform. And I was standing there. I didn't know whether I should cry, whether I should go back home to change, or I should just stand there because I'd been there for a while and I knew that I was late. So I didn't know what to do, and somehow, I think 5-10 minutes after I got a car. And so I didn't have a choice. I had to go to school like that with the debts on my body. I
remember once upon a time, now that you mentioned the school uniform, once upon a time, if you wore uniform, you were not charged.
Yeah.
I don't know if
that was a Metro Mass Transit.
was just Metro Mass. You were not charged.
Yeah.
But even with the Trotro, this was a long time ago. So not even sure.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. So you were not charged. So it's quite unfortunate that now they charge students.
I mean, when I was going, they were charging. See, your time was very far away.
Oh wow. So listeners, if you're listening to us and you happen to be at Seco right now, as Diana mentioned, please call us on 054-8888-995. The numbers to call 054-8888-995. Call in and share with us your experience. We want to know those she mentioned Seco, and I'm sure 37 as well.
Yeah, and then, so Medina. So those from Medina going towards Oyarifa, Dodowa.
That's so terrible. I mean,
that's another one.
The video that I posted, a large chunk, especially the part where it was very dark. Yes, that's where I shot it, because I think I was looking for a car going to Oyarifa side, and I was not getting. I stood there for about 3 hours. There's
this thing that they do. So they come and they are like, okay, OEB 10 cities. Or OEB 12 cities. They give you a fixed price. So whether you're stopping at Amrahia, wherever you are going to, fixed price.
Wow.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
Because
and when
you
it
have
rains,
to go home.
When it rains, they add like an extra 5 cities.
Why?
I don't know. Funny enough. Anybody at Medina as a yesterday or any time it rains can testify to this.
But the cars that are not even roadworthy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
They add extra.
No, because it pisses me off, because these are cars that stop in the middle of the road. I'm telling you that yesterday,
when it rains, it leaks.
Yes, yes.
Most of them leak.
And they charge extra.
Yeah, they charge extra when it rains.
Do they provide umbrella?
They're not Rolls Royce.
That's a good one. So you had an experience yesterday?
No, so was it yesterday? Yeah, in the morning, I guess. It was Friday rather, sorry. I was going to work and the car just stopped in the middle of the road. And we were all just confused. We didn't know whether we had to get out and push or, so we were just there. Cars were honking behind us. We're just there. We're asking the driver, yes, Anna, what are we supposed to do? Should we get down? What? And they are not saying anything. The mate is telling us that we should be patient, we should calm down, and we are just getting agitated because we are from a station. So it took a while for the car to load. We are going to work. It's in the morning. We are late, and the car has stopped in the middle of the road. Nobody is telling us anything. Nobody's saying anything. So what are we supposed to do? I don't know. Eventually, I don't know what the driver did, but then it's parked, and then we continued.
With the bad experiences you've had, Diana, all these years, has there been an authority or a policy maker or an office that you've ever called to let them know some of the struggles you go through? I mean, I'm assuming GPRTU should be one of the people or the bodies.
I haven't called or anything because I feel like there's so many, I don't know how to explain it. I was say soppy things that they are doing. So I mean, at first there was the Ayalolo bus that came, and I could attest to it because my mom and we used to use it, especially if she goes to Accra and I'm coming home with it. It's easier. It was convenient. And I loved it in the beginning too because we could charge our phones because we spent the whole day in Accra. Our phones are going off and then we are charging it and things like that. It was good. The whole card, I still have my card. And for some reason it stopped. And then recently they said some electric bus and thing. And that one too, it stopped. I saw on Twitter that they said they are bringing it back or something. They give a route or so, but I'm not too sure how it's working. I feel like they try to have like small solutions in isolation, and it does not. It's not long term. Like they're not thinking long term.
Very knee-jerk ad hoc.
Yeah, and they're solving just a few. Because I think that if we had working trains, it would alleviate a lot of the issues. Like I feel like I I don't know. We are not creating solutions, long-lasting solutions. It's just something for the time being.
To get votes.
Exactly. Something.
I even doubt they even do that to get votes, because I don't see any solution at all. Because you have Accra is congested now. A lot of the working force in Accra, the population has increased. There are few cars we are commuting with. When these Ayalolo buses and Metro Mass buses were working, I think it was a bit helpful. But now we are seeing less of the Ayalolo buses. These electric buses they brought, I don't know whether they are 20 or 25 seater. You don't see much people using it. And the routes they've given, the times they're giving, if you are in the working class, you can't take that one. Because you have to probably be at work like before 8. And the bus is moving at 8.
So if you go to the Ayalolo station, you see a lot of these vehicles parked.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word abandoned. What they'll tell you is faulty. But as Diana rightly said, if we're intentional about our transportation system, we would make sure that it is fixed and it gets back on the road. But hey, who is demanding? Who is asking these questions? Nobody seems to care about it. Let's go back to the policymakers. GPRTU, would it be fair for me to say that they have interest, or the system not working is benefiting some people? What do you think? Because how else do you make sense of this? You know that there's a population explosion.
Yeah.
People are coming to the city, yet we are not providing enough vehicles. Would you say that somebody or a group of people are benefiting from this whole chaos?
Yeah, I would say yes. I think some people are benefiting because, if there is a solution, some private individuals would like to champion that solution, and probably they're not getting the funds to champion that. You get it? So if the state has to do it, then they have to collapse what the state is doing. There's this thing where if you keep people hungry, that's when you can manipulate them. Mm-hmm. So once we are always suffering for Trotro in Accra, that's how they're going to make use of us. They're going to milk us. Because if there's more than enough and you can comfortably pick anyone you want, the demand is a bit low. So they're not making too much out of it.
Yeah, and I know previous governments, this government as well, is very big on PPP, the private partnership. So we need to be intentional about getting more private people in this space and not having to leave it for the government alone. Have you guys considered carpooling?
Carpooling, there was I think some companies started. There was this Nigerian company that wants trips. I don't know if they still work. Yeah, trips tried carpooling, but I don't know how successful it was. But I don't even see their cars anymore.
Because Augustine wasn't patronizing and Diana wasn't patronizing. Would that be the case?
Well, as at the time, it wasn't going to be useful to me. But I saw people, I don't know whether it's because of time management or whatever. Because sometimes the prices, I think they made sense at the time. I don't really recall the prices, but then it was working for a lot of people because they give you a time, you are there, they pick you up, and they pick the other people up, and it was working fine for some people, but not everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
I think with these things too, there's also the thing of funding. Because I think that if they have the right funding and the right amounts that they have to back them, it would be a long-lasting solution. But most of these things is also about funding. If they don't have the right amounts backing them, it's not going to last long. And
I think there's this other thing where, so in Accra, for instance, I've observed that the demand is very high at the early hours of the morning and the late hours of the night. So if you're doing carpooling, you're going to get the market early hours of the morning and then the late hours. But during the afternoon, you're not going to get much people.
Right.
So that's kind of a challenge. So if you're into this business, means if you don't get as much people in the morning to go and come back and pick more, and look at the traffic in Accra.
Right.
Before you pick from, let's say, Medina to Accra Central, you've already spent like 2 hours. To get to Accra Central. Now coming back to run the same route again.
Right.
So that's another challenge.
It was the same chaos that birthed the need for Okada.
Yeah.
This was about maybe more than 10 years, 12 years ago. That's how Okada started, because a few people found that, hey, if there's going to be long queues, let me just get them sit on my motorbike and then move them from point A to B. So yes, we do. Humans, as they say, necessity is the mother of all inventions. We found a way to solve it the way we can, but that also needs to be regulated. Most countries that I know, people would park their vehicles and join train, or they'll park their vehicles, or they'd rather even join a bus.
Yeah.
But in our parts of the world, it seems to be a status symbol to own a car. Unfortunately, you mentioned funding. Not everybody can afford it, because here in Ghana, it is cash and carry only. You cannot show your ID card and get a car. It's not done. But do you also blame them? I mean, people would take money from you. That friend who came to ask for money, I'll pay you back in 2 weeks, in a month, and never showed up. And now you have to find creative ways to get your money back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So let me go back to the story of we feeling the need to own a car. That if everybody was to carpool or decide to, let me park my car and then jump on a train or jump on the bus, I am sure these issues would be a bit curtailed. But it goes back to, do we even have the trains? Do we have these buses? Once upon a time, we had the rapid transit bus, if you remember, where it was on the wings of Ayalulu, where they had a card. Am I this old? So there was a card, and then there were stations where they had written 15 minutes. Metro Mass it was supposed to be bus in 15 minutes. I don't think that worked, so it was stopped halfway. But it goes back to, as Diana said, we don't have a lasting solution to problems at all. Now, where was it with you? We're discussing the owners of these Trotro and how it benefits them. So there's a concept that I just found out. It's called Tro-tro system. Diana, do you know about this?
Unless you explain.
Augustine, let me leave it for you to explain, because you laugh. I'm sure you know what it is.
Okay, so the Tro-tro system is when so a car heading to, let's say, Dodowa.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, so they go to Medina. They tell you they're going to Medina. They drop everyone off at Medina and they start, Dodowa. So when you come to, even if you're in the car and you decide to still continue to Dodowa, they'll tell you you're going to pay from Medina to Dodowa. So instead of taking the full fare from Medina to Dodowa, which is slightly less, they rather take it short. Yeah. To maximize sales.
Yeah, from Dome to Circle, technically they're supposed to take 7 CDs, but they'll do Dome to Old Station or Achimota, that's 5 CDs, and then they start loading Circle from that point to Circle. So then you pay 5 CDs, 50 pesos. So at the end of the day, you pay 10 CDs, 50 pesos.
So now that we mentioned this, producer, there's a video that I want us to watch, those on Facebook to see this video, and then those listening to us would also hear what goes on, what the Tro-tro system is all about. So let's take a listen and let's watch.
Scores of commuters in Ghana's capital, Accra, whose daily means of transport are transit buses, popularly known as Trotro or Troski, are exploited by operators through a trafficking system known as TOT. We travel to the central business district of Accra to do, where the phenomenon is growing in leaps and bounds. Our mission was to learn about the TOT system and how it was defining the lives of commuters.
Short way. I just am a 5 years ago. Do actually matter. And so now Nippon are all part to us. She said, "You won't know, sir." In this, I'm a banana. I'm a sick and I'm a buy and I see there. This I make a crew. My dad, they're trying to match us. And yes, I'm a contempt.
We are really suffering, though. Me like this, I stay at Dobro. In the morning, I'll take her like 11 cities and come. Then in the evening, if I'm going, I'll take Amasaman 10 cities. Then from Amasaman to Dobro, another 10 cities again. Like we are suffering. We are working for the drivers. We are really working for the drivers.
Me, na minya straight car 6 cities. but me economy thoughts 12 cities.
Passengers no more complaining say more short distances. That na more sir.
The thing say the La Paz na ba ye bimba. It is a bush short to kwa. You find the cost secret, never secret kwa. You must can ko yedim so that the recover say empty na the bar no.
So this vehicle is originally headed for La Paz, but when it pulled up at Tudu, commuters were told that it was headed for Circle. It's just a matter of time the commuters in this vehicle will learn that the car is actually going to La Paz, which means that they have to pay more in transport fares. The Tots way of charging fares has been going on for many years in most areas of the Greater Accra region, including the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, Achimota, Dom, Kwabenya, and other adjoining suburbs. Just like a tot of whiskey poured into a glass, these drivers charge commuters to originally longer destinations multiple times by truncating their journeys into shorter trips. The practice is illegal, but the drivers here do not respond to any authority, and so they milk commuters like dairy cattle.
So this, I wasn't expecting it to put me in this mood, but it's very sad. It is sad that we are doing this to ourselves. You know, yes, we call and we ask for the authorities, the government to fix the country, but I think as humans, we have a civic duty. It is sad. This has to be stopped. It's sad. So I believe we have Mr. Ohene Yeboah on the line. Mr. Ohene Yeboah is the General Secretary for Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. Mr. Ohene Yeboah, did I get that right?
Your voice is way far away from me.
Hello, Mr. Ohene Yeboah, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your voice is too far away.
I think I need to do something about my voice then. So if you listened, we just talked about.
I didn't hear one word from whatever you described.
No, there's something going on called the TOT system, where the Trotro drivers and the conductors will not announce their final destination. They only do it in bits, just to get more money from commuters. Is this something that has come to your notice, sir?
Thank you very much. And let me apologize to your producers for my inability to appear in the studio. I hope to remedy this the next time. Yes, it's something that has come to our notice. But you see, our operational system as it stands now in the country, it's something that we have very, very difficult challenge to confront with that system, because we don't have a dedicated terminals for all these vehicles. We have to, do what we call our. So it's very difficult for anybody to control them, and mostly because of our congestion on our roads. Turnaround time is always slow. So people think, before I will go and come back, I would have lost all the passengers, so let me take advantage and do it. We don't encourage that though, but that is the situation we find ourselves now.
Has there been any press release to condemn this act? I mean, I'm sure we all know how GPRTU is very fast in responding to a lot of things. Has there been any press release, press conference, any meeting to condemn this act?
No, like I said, this is something that we have discussed at various forums, but it looks like because the people are not people you can clearly get them on hand or get them at a place you can discuss with. These are people who call floating drivers. They just wake up in the morning, get onto the street, and they start working.
Right.
So it's something that we cannot do much.
I understood. When it's time to increase your prices, how are you able to get these floating drivers to increase their rates? When it's time to increase your prices and your rates? Because we know all the drivers, all the floating drivers act accordingly.
I get your point, but as for money, everybody will run for a chase after money. I mean, once the announcement is made, whether it's at a terminal, you operate from a station or not, you still take advantage of it. That's the most important part of it. So I think the media and everybody will have to help us come on board for us to fight that canker. I don't think it's helping all of us.
Are there any punitive measures for this so we can help you with it? Are there any punitive measures? If we are to come on board and help fight this Tro-tro system, are there any punitive measures you put in place? So, for instance, if I ever catch someone practicing Tro-tro, can I hand the person over to the police or hand over the person to GPRTU council? Are there any measures?
The point is that the person must first belong to the union you want to report to. And for all you know, they are operating without belonging to any union or association. So it's a difficult thing to do. But what we hope to get there one day, because the Road Safety Act, requires that for anybody who operates as a commercial operator must first belong to an association. So we hope that is going to something that we will be going forward will take advantage of and will implement some sanctions on that.
In your opening remarks, you mentioned that the issue has got to do with operational system, and you gave example of the lack of terminal. I'm sure by this you mean not having big stations or enough stations to house all these floating vehicles. Is that a case?
No, you don't necessarily need to get a big terminal for people to converge. But what you need to do is that you will probably have to get a dedicated lane. Maybe to move from circle, have a place like a Caprice, where we have to go up the road and maybe get loaded and continue. I mean, those are simple things. Those are some of the checks we can put in place and see how we can get people comply with some of these things. Because if they get there, the people there, you kind of report to, some like a terminal overseer there who would actually know exactly where you are going for if you announce or something for the people who want to get on board. So all said and done, it boils down to regulation, how we'll be able to get people into a control system.
So, Mr. Eboah, thank you so much for sharing this with us. I have two more questions to ask. I'm sure GPRTU and your wing, the coordinating council, you have a set of objectives. And I'm sure one of these objectives would cover the well-being of commuters. Is that right?
Well-being of who?
Well-being of commuters. I.e., what I'm trying to drive at is.
Yes. I think like you see, the commuters are the most. The commuters are the most important part of our business. So
right. Right. So then please correct me if I'm wrong, but there seems to be some imbalance here. When it's time to increase fares, you are not GP, from what she said, when it's time to increase fares, you're not able to regulate or control those who choose to increase their fares because, as you mentioned, they are floating and you don't have a record of all of them. But when it's time, when they are also exploiting these commuters, your council, we don't hear anything from your council. Commuters don't feel protected. If I don't know if you watched the video, there are lots of people who are already complaining, but we haven't heard. It's interesting. GPRT is they are very active in lots of things, but with this one, you've been very silent. Are there any plans? Let's talk about real plans, not what you have on paper. Are there any plans to address this as a national concern? Hello, Mr. Eboah, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Eboah. I think we lost Mr. Eboah there. I don't want to think the question. Let's just say it was the network. Mr. Eboah, if you can hear us, please, we'll try reaching you again. This would be the last question. We'll try reaching you again, but thank you all the same. Let's get back to the studio. So if you heard what Mr. Eboa was trying to say, they have an operational system. How do I even put this? They're having issues. They're unable to regulate them. He mentioned that there's no terminal or lack of terminal, and there's a lot of congestion. And he also mentioned that these Trotros are the ones that are floating, so they're not able to regulate. And what I was trying to find out from them is, how is it that when it's time to increase prices, it's almost very quick? But when it's something that concerns the commuters, there's all these problems why we cannot help you. And I think that's just very wrong. I mean, I don't mean to sound this way, but this is something that's very wrong. GPRTU is one of, if not the only, but one of the very active associations. Very quick to go on strike, very quick to call for things to happen for them. But with this, obviously, it didn't just start last week. It's been going on. So there's no way anybody at the top would say, oh, we don't know anything about it, or we're having problems in curtailing it. I mean, as I mentioned, I asked them if they were punitive measures. Imagine if they had stickers or a way to advertise, put on every Trotro, if anybody exploits you. Like how we have, if I'm driving recklessly, call this number. If anybody exploits you, call this number. I mean, we don't even have to come in as media houses, or GPRTU has the resources. That's for sure. They have the means to do it. They should be able to do it. Even if you tell the car owners or the Trotro drivers that do the sticker and put it behind your car, they should be able to do it. So, sorry.
So they're exploiting.
Yeah.
So I'm a driver. I come to tell you I'm heading to Medina.
Yeah.
It's Medina I'm going to. I take you to Medina.
Mm-hmm.
When I get to Medina and I feel like I want to continue to Dodowa, I mean, you can't charge me for wanting to continue to Dodowa and not going from Accra to Dodowa straight. So this is quite complex. Yeah. It's a complex issue that needs a proper discussion.
Yeah. I'm also thinking, usually when we are sitting in cars, I don't know if we look at I mean, if I order a ride hailing app, yes, I check the number plates and just to be sure that I'm sitting in the right car. But if we are entering Trotro, do we check the number plates and
we hardly do that.
You do?
Yes.
Wow.
You know the driver's face because you always use that route.
And you see, the Trotros were the 25 registered. So like in 2025, a 2025 registered or 2024 registered plate, if they are exploiting, you don't talk much.
Why?
Because the car feels smooth. The ride is enjoyable. Yeah.
Wow.
But imagine you're having a Trotro registered X. As you're going, you're having the alarm shake, all the body pains and whatsoever, and they are doing this on top of it.
Now that you mentioned this, so if you can please show this on the screen. So in Senegal, we have, or they have, something very similar to our Trotro. And what's interesting is with Senegal's own, even if you're standing, you still pay the same fare as those sitting.
Yeah.
In Lagos, my experience with Lagos was they had kitchen stools. So this is the Senegal Trotro. Some people standing, the women are even standing. So very few seats inside. And if we're going to charge you 10 cedis, it's the same whether you're standing. So i.e. you should be lucky you even got Trotro to even go.
Yeah.
So in Lagos, what they had was kitchen stools. We are complaining that our seats are not good. So kitchen stools, and you have to like hold somebody just to make sure you keep your balance.
Yes.
So this is something that seems to be, but why should it be so like an African? I don't want to say it's an African.
Yeah.
There's so much mediocrity, and we are not holding people accountable. Like we just getting off with Mr. Ohene. I see a lot of mediocrity in there. Like, oh, it's a Obi and complaining, Obi and say it's so wrong. Today I was listening to the news and Nadmo mentioned that there hasn't been any lives lost in the flood. But does it go beyond lives being lost?
I'm so sorry, but somebody in my office said yes, 3 children Their bodies were removed this morning.
You go. So what, they don't want to reveal the real case, or NANMO doesn't know the issues on the ground?
Maybe they don't know.
So you see, we take a lot of things for granted. There's so much mediocrity in this country. Anyway, let me move it back to an auto show. Move it back to it being an auto show. So before we continue, we usually would have a workshop series, a beginner's workshop, where I teach listeners, yes, listeners, some of the things to know about your car. Today, the question is, does good price mean good purchase? Are you ready? Let's go. So we are all aware, fully aware, that when someone wants to sell a car to you, they will say the sweet things, everything, and hide the most important things. Here in Ghana, we call it paintimamento. So they dress it up nicely. It's like a woman that hasn't taken a shower, but she wears beautiful makeup. It covers a lot. It doesn't go too well. So I'm going to show you 3 indicators that the car owner is possibly hiding from you. And if you think you're going to go with a technician and the technician is going to have your interest in mind, no. Now these buyers find a way to bribe their technicians. So, Charlie, manento memo 500 C's on the side. So please, if you're going to do any inspection with a technician, make sure it's somebody that you trust, absolutely trust. So here are the 3 indicators. Number 1, make sure you open the bonnet. Make sure you open the bonnet and check for splash. Sometimes when the car is overheating, it would splash onto the bonnet, underneath the bonnet. We call it a guard. Most cars don't have the guard, so just look underneath the bonnet. You see the indicators there. So a splash could come from whether like overheating, as I mentioned, and also you see that the camshaft cover, the valve cover, there's some oil leakage coming out from there. That means the gasket is gone, it's completely worn, and the valve cover is leaking. Okay. Number 2, open up the oil with your dipstick. Pull out the dipstick and check the oil. Don't even look at the color, but check to see if it's sludgy, it's thick in a way. When it's thick, it shows that the coolant is getting into the oil chamber. It shows that the previous owner wasn't very good with maintenance. So that tells you a lot. So with this, if you've seen anything, this alone, you should reduce the price by 5,000 cedis and tell them Shecanic said so. Number 2, check for corrosion and rust. Okay, how do you check for the corrosion and the rust? You should look underneath the car, or even pass your hand underneath the car. If the car is already rusting, it means you would spend some time to do the body works. You see how Flintstones works, and I'm sure lots of Trotros are like that. So you see the road when you sit in the car. So yes, make sure there's no rust, because that alone should take off another 2,000 cedis from the cost price. And then check for panel alignment. When the car has been involved in an accident, the panels would not be aligned properly because our technicians mediocrity again. Let me give you an example. When you see a woman wearing the padded hips and one hip is up, the other hip is down, that is what I mean by panel not being aligned. So you see such a woman, I don't think you want to get close, right? So the same thing should go with your car. Don't get close to a car that the panels are all not aligned properly. Number three is what comes out from the exhaust. The same way that when you eat something bad, you can tell from what comes out from you. That is how cars also react. We have the white smoke, we have the blue smoke, and we have the dark gray smoke. If it's a white smoke, then it means your coolant is mixing with your combustion chamber. So that is a white smoke. So you're creating a cloud behind you. Wherever you go is a cloud, like that cloud that was leading the Israelites through the wilderness. You're creating your own cloud. Now, if it's a dark blue smoke, it means oil is mixing with a combustion chamber. Okay, that means, well, it means there's a cracked gasket. If it's white, it means your gasket is gone. Now, if it's blue, it means the oil is leaking through the piston rings or the valve stem. The oil shouldn't get into the chamber. It's just supposed to lubricate the chamber, but it shouldn't enter. Okay, now if it's dark gray smoke, it means that your car is running rich on fuel. So when the spark plugs are not working as it should, it shouldn't run rich. So make sure that the owner has sparked the car, and then you are checking the smoke. Again, they'll ask you, hey, now madam, how do you know all this? Say, because you know Shecanic. Now, thank you for listening. Let's get back to our discussion. Now, back to our discussion, the chaotic nature of our road transportation. Can we say something similar going on with ride hailing? I mean, that should be a response. I'm sure the ride hailing cabs came in because a lot of people get stuck getting home and all that. Have you tried the ride hailing? What I've been told is after some time, the prices are jacked up.
Yep, that's true.
That's true.
Especially at dawn morning, because obviously mornings, people are trying to request rides. Also in the evenings, people are trying to request. So, and especially when you are in an area where it seems like a lot of people are trying to request, the price goes.
The price goes up.
Yeah.
Because there's high demand.
Yeah. I think some of them do the carpooling. So
Uber does. There's a carpooling thing.
But you see, I feel like also where you are, it might not work. I have never tried it because I'm afraid for myself and my safety. You understand?
I think I've tried it like twice.
And so they pick people on the way.
So the car came with about 3 people already in there. So I was the 4th person.
That's not safe.
It doesn't sound honestly, safe. Right? I feel like for him, because he's a guy,
he can fight.
They were full of ladies.
Did you think of your safety?
They were full of ladies.
No. Did you think of your safety?
Yeah.
You did?
Yes, I did. And you see, this car came with 3 ladies. 3 ladies. He came with 3 ladies in there. Mm-hmm. So me being the only guy, I felt safe.
You see, I'm thinking about the other 3 ladies.
Well, there's this thing where you feel picking an Uber, Yango, or boat is safer.
So I'll share this Kumasi story. So it's a syndicate. What they'll do is they'll have somebody with a baby bump.
Yes.
Okay. Sit in front. She would sit in front.
Okay.
So and then 2 men at the back. So in your mind, a painful, a pregnant woman, it must be safe, but it's not. She has cushion.
Yeah.
So I think as she mentioned.
You see, when you look at where we are, I mean, I don't know if a lot of stories like what you just shared, there are a lot of stories like that, but I don't know. I've consumed a lot of Nigerian media. I cannot for the life of me say that I'm requesting a carpool. If I don't have money to order like these ride hailing apps, then I'm not ordering at all, or I'm picking Trotro to a point, then I order from there, because I know that maybe by that time the amount has reduced. But for my safety,
there are days
know.
that you're in a hurry, and Trotro would make about 1,000 stops.
Yeah,
right.
You want to order for a ride hailing service, but if you look at the budget you're having, Trotro is cheaper, but you're going to get late. Right. If you are ordering for yourself only, you're going to pay more. So why not go for the pooling? Then that saves the day.
It does.
But I feel during the daytime, it should feel more safe. And depend on the route you're taking. For instance, if I'm taking from, let's say, Legon campus to somewhere like Accra Central, the road is just, very straightforward, that I don't think you're going to take me anywhere that I'm going to feel unsafe. But where I live, Teshi, if I want to do a carpooling from, let's say, Circle to Teshi, I'd rather wait for Trotsky.
Right.
Yeah. So it depends on the area you are heading towards or the area where you are, like you rightly said.
Can we discuss solutions now? Solutions to this. I know radio gets results and they are listening. So if anybody is to listen to you, Diana, let's say President Mahama listening to you right now, what would be some of the solutions you would pitch to him?
I think a number of buses, so like the Ayalulu, it doesn't even have to be just them. Even if it's the Metro buses, but we are increasing the number. We're increasing the number of Ayalulu. Give us options. Do you understand? The reason why Trotro drivers are doing this thought thing is because they know that, you will pick. Because you are in a hurry. You have to go home. Yes, there's so much monopoly. They are controlling the system and they know it. They know the power they wield. And so they are using it the way they are using it. So if we have a lot more options, working train, we need a working train system.
The Sky Train, if they had done it.
So stop. The road we are not seeing top. we need working trains. I know when the train was working, in fact, we need maintenance culture, please. I can't believe that we are going back to social studies, but our maintenance culture is poor. I remember when I was smaller, I sat in a train from Accra Central to Dome, and I regret. I told my mom I'll never sit standing because I didn't even get seats. I was standing under somebody's armpits. So yeah, terrible experience. But if we have
traumatic,
if we have a number of these options there, then I know that even if I miss the train, I can get this other ride. If I don't have this one, I can get this one. There are a number of them on the road for us to choose from. It would make everything so much more easier, and it will make even coming from further distances easier, because if I'm far away and I can sit in a train and in 20-25 minutes I'm still reaching where I'm supposed to reach, it would mean that people would not move to Accra here, the center, and be paying exorbitant rent prices. Right. You understand? Right. So it gives us peace of mind. Yes. Honestly,
if we spread out the development,
yes,
that's one of the reasons I didn't approve, or I didn't like how we had to demolish some buildings just to put up the structure that we wanted to put up. Anyway, because the central business district is already packed. So why don't you rather take this great initiative somewhere else and open up the space? Can you imagine the economy of that new place, what it will bring about? Businesses, schools, the roads. But we decide to use taxpayers' money to break down very like the colonial buildings that tells the story. There are some countries where they keep certain buildings, but not my country.
You don't like?
No,
that's not what we want.
Mediocrity. So Augustine, but what will be your solution if the president?
Okay, so she mentioned the train system.
Yeah.
So the train system would have done so much for us. Even going longer distances like Accra to Kumasi, Accra to Takoradi and all that. I know currently in Accra, I know one train works. I think it goes towards Achimota, but I can't tell where it comes from. That's from Tema. Yeah, Achimota to Tema, I think. Yeah, it works. If they could do more, it's going to help. But personally, I think the only way to solve our transportation system is when a good government takes charge of our transportation system.
When you say good government?
So a government that's going to care about our transport system. So if the state transport companies are working, if they take over this Trotro business, they can regulate it.
Yeah.
Now they're not taking over. It's private, so nobody's regulating them.
Yeah, we used to have something called state transport, right?
Yeah, so the state transport company, STC. Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
So Metro Mass 2 was there. I don't know if Ayalolo is a government owned or.
So now STC only does Kumasi Road.
Yes.
But if they took over.
If they took over.
Because that's the idea of the state's transport.
Exactly.
So why do we leave it to?
So I would rather be having buses coming to my end, and if we're having buses, the tall ones like myself, our knees are going to be sped in the Troskis. You get it? And we are going to see a regulation in prices. Currently, as you speak, fuel prices have gone down like 4 times, but GPRT is silent.
Oh, they've come out.
Oh,
Somebody just sent it to me.
Oh, they have?
Are they
Yeah.
reducing
So
the
they're going to
prices?
reduce the prices now?
Yes, so they said GPRT and other commercial transport operators to reduce fares by 15% starting Saturday, 24th May.
Does it match with the percentage drop in the fuel? I'm sure
The
it does.
50% is going to be like 50 pesos off your fare.
I'm sure it does.
I don't know how they do their
Doesn't
calculations.
no.
You hear them, okay, we are increasing by 20%, and you go and then someone is adding like some 2 cities or 3 cities. Meanwhile,
GPRT. Well, thank you, GPRT.
Well, yeah,
for
thank you.
this. Thank you so much. We appreciate this. This is good. But if you can bring it down, make it a bit more, would be very grateful. Do you think that if we were paid hourly rates in some countries, where you go to work and every hour you are paid per hour, do you think people would have money to afford getting a car or afford the alternatives like the ride hailing instead of scrambling for Trotro?
See, I don't like this solution.
Exactly.
I don't like this solution because you are not solving the problem.
You're not.
Yeah.
It's like we are passing the side to. That's what when I posted the video. That's what a lot of people are coming to say. Hey, wait, just all talk like. That's not the solution.
If everybody's having a car, so much traffic.
So yes, and then we keep polluting the environment. Nah, that's not the solution. We can't do that. We can't bypass the issue.
I do agree with you, Diana. I agree with you. Before we sign out, let's go into our Now You Know segment. Now You Know is when I correct you on certain mistakes you make about your car. Now, we mentioned some time ago that we don't call where you find your tachometer, your speedometer, dashboard. We do not. You see, when you sit in your car, where you see the gauges, when you're moving fast, you see a gauge. When the RPM, you see a gauge. When your fuel is low and your warning lights, that section is called the instrument cluster, because that's where you have your instruments, you have your gauges. So it's called the instrument cluster, or you can call it the instrument panel. Now, you'd ask, what is the dashboard? The dashboard is the entire panel from the whole thing, the whole stretch from one side mirror to the other. Now, let me tell you the history of dashboard. So back in the day when we had horse-driven carriages, they had to put a board to prevent the horses from splashing mud on you. So it was called, the word for splashing was the horses dashing mud on you, hence the name dashboard. Now with time, when the carriages now were motor-driven carriages, we had to now add things like panels to control air condition, your radio, your all of that. So then there was a need for the instrument cluster, and then your storage space. So you see the other side, you have the storage space. So that's where also airbags are there and all of that. But let me tell you something even more fancy. Now with these newer cars, maybe 2020 and up, there's something called the cockpits. Now the cockpits originally from the Formula One. If you've ever followed Formula One, where your favorite Lewis Hamilton sits. So that is his command center, just like what we have in the aeroplanes. The pilot sits in the cockpits. That was the command center. But guess what? Well, if you drive an old car like mine, we don't have cockpits. So this is for those who drive the fancy cars. So these have become fancy, and these are command centers. Now cars, you don't even have to even look at your gauges. You can look straight at your windscreen and see how fast you're going, because it has a head-up display. You can wave your hand and then the air condition goes down or up. Your radio, you can just do hand gestures. It's become so fancy. So now it's called the command center, i.e. the cockpit. So my lady, if you want to sound very fancy, let's say somebody gives you a lift in a new Wraith, Rolls Royce Wraith, or the new Bentayga, or an RS8 or a Q8. You see the car and say, wow, I like your cockpits. I'm sure the driver will say, hey, how did you know? Just say yes, you've been listening to Vroom. So this is Shecanic giving you all the best tips, making you women feel confident. But I want to know, let me know if you learned anything these past episodes. We have to bring this show to an end. I am mixed feelings. I was sad for moments, but I am happy that we have the young men and women who are willing to provide solutions when there's call for action. So thank you so much for listening. Are there any last words you want to share with us before we go? You're thinking about that was a nice one. But before we go, I want to say hello to Carlota Bannerman and AC Mills Robertson from Fidelity Bank. I'm told you ladies have been listening to Vroom from day one. Thank you so much. And to all of you who have been listening from Kumasi, Tamale, Cape Coast, and of course right here in the capital, I'd like to say thank you very much. This is Vroom with your host Shecanic. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.